Hi beautiful souls, welcome to my Nutrition 101 video series. My name is Pina, nutritional therapist and energy medicine practitioner. In this video, I like to talk about perimenopause. I choose this topic because perimenopause is a natural phase in women's life, but it's a phase that actually can last a long time. It lasts anything between 2 to 10 years. And so for me, it's very important to raise awareness on this phase and to support women in knowing this phase and how can they best navigate it. In this video, I'll also be talking about the reproductive cycle in a woman's life, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so more or less we all know what menopause is, but I believe that perimenopause, it's a phase that is less talked about. Because it's sort of a gray area. In perimenopause, women are still ovulating, so they can still become pregnant. And it's thought of it as the hormones start to decline until you get to menopause, which is a very detailed phase. Menopause is basically the phase in which for one whole year, for 12 months, women do not have their menstrual cycle anymore in a row. So the moment you do not menstruate anymore for a whole year, then that's the year where your menopause starts. Actually, that's the year of menopause. Anything after that is called postmenopause, which is the rest of a woman's life. What about perimenopause then? Okay, so if menopause starts anytime, because we're all different, of course, but sometimes between 48 to 51, 52 years old. And we now know that perimenopause can last anything between 2 to 10 years. So let's average 50 years old for menopause, 40, sometimes around 40 years old. For some women a bit later than that, for some women earlier, we enter this phase called perimenopause. Now, generally speaking, we believe that in perimenopause, the hormones involved with pregnancy, which are quite few, but the two most important ones, estrogen and progesterone, tend to decline slowly. But that's not the case. They do not just simply decline, they actually fluctuate, which means they can go up and down, spiking and plummeting erratically. And that is what causes the symptoms. Let's back up a little bit for a moment and let's talk about the reproductive cycle, just to have an average idea of what's happening normally in a woman's life. So a woman becomes fertile sometime around the 11, 12 years old or a little bit later than that, and stays fertile up until averagely in her 50s. So a whole 40 years of a woman's life, month after month, the female reproductive system has a way to potentially create pregnancy. Every month, a woman goes through 4 different phases. Each phase is very specific in terms of what hormones do. So let's take phase 1 as menstruation. Menstruation is the day that we get a period. Period can last anything between 2-3 days to 7-8 days. So from day 1 menstruation, if we count up to day 6, then that's the second phase, which is the follicular phase. It's the phase in which the egg mature in the ovaries. And then another week, more or less, we get to day 14, which is ovulation. Ovulation is when the egg is ready to be fertilized and it gets released from the ovaries and it goes into the fallopian tubes. Here, if emits sperms can get fertilized and pregnancy can start, otherwise it won't. And phase 3, which is the week after that, is called luteal phase. It's the phase in which the egg travels into the uterus, in which then either gets implanted there if fertilized and pregnancy can start, or gets released, and that's what happens the week after the uterus lining shedding, which is the menstruation. And few sexual hormones are involved in this process across all these 4 phases. And the 2 most important hormones are estrogen and progesterone. Progesterone specifically drives pregnancy, prepares the uterus to welcome the pregnancy, and maintains the uterus for pregnancy. And estrogen is the hormones that, generally speaking, it's higher in the first phase where the egg gets matured. Estrogen also helps the egg to grow, maintain flow, thickness and lubrication of the uterine mucus, as well as many other things for women. It keeps the skin elastic and glowing, helps with calcium absorption, therefore supports bone health, and also raises serotonin. So you'd see why probably on the first phase after a period we feel happier and more outgoing and more sociable. On the screen now there is an overall idea of what happens to the hormones at each given time of the cycle, unless of course you have an estrogen dominance or you have an androgens dominance, which is more testosterone than normal. So then we might see fluctuations there. But otherwise, what you see is what happens generally. An interesting thing to notice that is testosterone. We believe that testosterone is a male hormone, right? Well, it's not. Of course, women also produce testosterone. But something interesting is that we actually produce 3 times as much as estrogen. The thing with testosterone is that because it's not directly involved into the reproductive cycle, then it tends to not fluctuate as much. We produce more in our 20s as we come out of puberty, and then it slowly and gradually declines as we enter menopause. In women, testosterone is important for muscle mass, bone density, sex drive, mood, and energy. So as we hit the 40 years old mark, more or less, we enter this perimenopause, and this is what happens. You see the difference in the graph? It's not that just all hormones slowly decline. Estrogen and progesterone erratically decline, spiking and plummeting, causing various symptoms. Symptoms that can be more close to the menopausal symptoms like night sweats or flushes, sleep disturbances, low mood, that's because serotonin lowers as well. Or the symptoms of estrogen dominance like PMS, headaches, irritability, joint pain, weight gain, fatigue. So an example be myself. I'm 43 years old and I've noticed since literally a year that my period has changed. I'm generally super regular. I have my period every 28 days. And since about a few months, my period comes around 21, 22, 23, 25 days. So it comes before, which means that my follicular phase, the phase after the menstruation, is becoming shorter, which means I ovulate before those 14 days, which basically means that my egg supply is starting to decrease. Another symptoms I notice is that my PMS, my premenstrual syndromes, it's less physical, like I have less pain before my period, but actually I'm becoming a little bit more irritable and nervous and angry sometimes. And these changes I noticed because I'm in contact with my period. I check the days, I know when I'm ovulating, I know when my period is due, and I suggest you lovely ladies do the same. Start getting in contact with your body, your menstrual cycle. Because as you do so, you will realize not only that we have 4 phases, very different each week. We literally embody a different archetype in which, because of our hormones, we feel different. And because of that, we might act differently. We're influenced by the world and influence the world in a different way each week. So start notice that. So that when you reach 40 years old or 42 and your period starts changing, you will notice it. You can say, yes, I'm changing. I'm entering this new phase in my life. From a conventional medicine approach, women with these symptoms, the hot flashes, the irritability, they're like, okay, I'm changing, it's becoming really bad for me. What they do, they recur to hormone replace therapy. That is synthetically hormones-based estrogen and progesterone, some mixed together, some just one of the other. These are synthetic hormones and they cause a side effect. They've been scientifically proven to cause blood clots, breast cancer, stroke. It's not like a naturally produced estrogen from your body or the phytoestrogens, which are plant-derived estrogen, which are less strong. No, the pharmaceutical are a certain therapeutic dose and they're synthetic. So you might risk to get the opposite effect. breast cancer because estrogen stimulates growth factors within the body, so it can cause that. And also, if you have an estrogen dominance, then this will give you even more symptoms and can cause even more disruptions within the body. How do you know you have an estrogen dominance? Of course, you can go have an estrogen panel complete test, or you are diagnosed with uterine fibroids or endometriosis. And because I was diagnosed with endometriosis in my past and uterine fibroids lately, I assumed I have an estrogen dominance. But let's talk about this in another video that I will be doing on this specific topic, because it's a topic very close to my heart. And as a nutritionist, I know there's a specific diet to support estrogen dominance, and women will definitely get better with simply nutritional changes and lifestyle changes. So going back to today, the conventional medicine also offers antidepressant because estrogen raises serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone, and we know that estrogen declines as we approach menopause, especially the latest. It will decline completely, and progesterone as well. So because of that, women with high symptoms being suggested to take SSRIs, antidepressants, serotonin-based drugs. Again, my whole point is perimenopause, it's a natural phase in every woman's life. Why having the feeling to have to cope with it? Why fighting it? If the body has all those symptoms that perimenopause brings because the hormones change and fluctuate, then why don't we look at lifestyle changes? Why don't we look at our lives and the things that we can change to have less of these symptoms? Instead of running for the one pill that can save the day so that you can do the things and can keep the pace that you used to keep when you were in your 20s. Why can't we just simply, as a woman, accept that we are 40, 45, and it's just a different phase, and the things that we can do at 40, 45 will definitely be different than the things we used to do at 20 years old. That will be different. Doesn't mean they will be less interesting. And from a nutritional perspective, looking at the diet, in order to support this new phase in our life, we just have to have the classic healthy diet. The diet rich in vegetables because of the fibers, so keep your digestive system tip-toes. Protein intake from lean meat and fish. Omega-3 from olive fish like salmon, sardine, anchovies, mackerel. Good fats from avocado or coconut oil. And then look at natural estrogenic herbs such as sage, red clover, flax seeds, or fermented soya beans. These are weak estrogens from a natural source that might substitute some of the estrogen that slowly start to decline and release some of the symptoms. A word of advice, women with an estrogen dominance, the whole matter of phytoestrogen can be a little controversial, so check out the next video where I'm going to be talking specifically about that. From a supplementation perspective, if there was one supplement I would recommend during the perimenopausal phase will be vitamin D. Great antidepressant and fantastic for the bones and to support general health. It's been scientifically proven that low vitamin D levels can be found in women with higher perimenopausal symptoms. And in terms of lifestyles, exercise, which will improve your mood, your sleep quality, will help you with raising the feel-good hormones, and will help with weight management, muscle function, and generally great to feel good within yourself. And finally, if you're in a relationship, talk to your man. We as women most of the time don't know what's going on within those 4 phases in our cycle. Sometimes I ask my clients, when are you ovulating or where's your period due? And they have no idea. So if we don't have idea, would the men in our life know what we're going through? So help them helping us. And as we help us in discovering ourselves and how different we can be across all those phases, and in each phase of our life, we need to communicate to the man next to us what's happening with us so that they can support us. To me, the phase of perimenopause in each woman's life is a phase in which we are asked to slow down. As our body slows down, then we should also consider to slow down our lives in general and appreciate our new self, what we are becoming as a mature women. Accepting the phase of perimenopause, it means accepting a new self. Because after all, perimenopause, menopause, fertility years, they're all natural phases in a woman's life. They're not syndromes or hindrances or symptoms we need to cope with and we need to get rid of. No, they are natural phases which we need to acknowledge and embrace.